what we will see first is how you figure out what others think about you, if they think about you, if you are authority, if they what they feel about you, because the way how you can do that, I will show you in a minute, and then we will split up in groups and we will do that. So I tell you one example that a billionaire came one day to me and he asked me, Karin, can you tell me if I know if that person in front of me is my friend or if that person in front of me just is with me because of my money? And I showed him an example what and how to do that. If there is another person standing in front of you, please try to creep into that person and look with your own eyes down on yourself. And then register. What do you see through somebody else's eyes? How is that judgment in the other person about you? How is that recognition about you? What does the other person feel about you? Try to creep into that person, looking through their eyes towards you. And then, in this case, you will split up and you will try to do this, and then you write it down. Not yet, okay? Then part 2 will be with, Kamal, with Lily, with Kisma, and with Golcha. You will then ask the other person, okay, what do you now really think about me? Ask the other person. And the other person will express what it really thinks about you. And you will get an answer which is maybe completely different to your own perception. That is what you learn today, that your own perception and that what others think about you is completely, most of the time, different to what is your own perception about yourself. And there are, Golcha and Lily and Kamal and Kisma, who will tell you why it is different, why you hook on that perception. Now I just want to give you an advice how to do this at home with a friend. Please do not choose a family member, because a family member is too close and you could get into arguments with each other. So choose, please, a very good friend which you trust. And then do the same thing, what I have said before, with that friend, trying to look through his eyes and so on, what I said before, and asking him to be objective and to be in his truth when he tells you what he feels about you. Ask for a real answer and not to be shy to say something to you, because you really want to figure out something about yourself. In the group counseling came up one subject, and you might be very familiar with it. It is when your boss comes to you and shouts at you and says, I want an answer now, you have to explain this now, and why did that happen? And so you are more or less in the corner, and the boss tries to overwhelm you. First, the answer is that your boss has taken his energy into the head. He is in his intellect and he's emotional or mentally, in a little anger. That means he lost already his ground, his feet on the ground. So he is, when you would look at a picture, then you would see that his whole energy field becomes very much big above his head and trying to overwhelm you. In that situation, you sit or you stand very silently and you are listening only with one ear, please. You put your hand, if you can, and nobody will see it, on your tummy, and you start just breathing, not to lose your feet on the ground. Stay with your breath. It keeps you in your body. That means you will stand the ground or stand up for yourself. So the boss cannot overwhelm you. Part 2 of it would be your small answers. The answers could be, yes, you are maybe right. Maybe it is as you said. And then you give him another answer. When you have to answer now, tell him, boss, you want a very good explanation. So give me please, and I make overtime this evening for you, the time that I write down for everything what you wanted to know, and I hand it towards you tomorrow morning. This is what you want. You want me to work precise, right? So get time, make more space. So he cannot say anything anymore, because you are offering your best. You might be very often caught up in a gossiping story. It might be even about yourself or with yourself that you feel as a victim, or you hear about a victim telling you the victim story. Think for a moment a little bit different. There is a culprit who, it seems, has done something to the victim. But the victim, with his low self-esteem and his need to reconfirm his being so unworthy, needs a culprit to reconfirm him this. This is a kind of self-sabotage. I repeat it in another words. A victim is needy in a culprit because he can put his finger towards the culprit and can tell him, you are the biggest mess and the most ugliest monster in life what I ever met, because in that way you can make the culprit feeling guilty. And this is a game of power. You play as a victim, and every victim does it, plays the game of power. Because in the moment you have the power above somebody, even by making him feeling so guilty, and let him feel ashamed, and repeat this for years, for years, for years. Even if the culprit has done it maybe one time in his life, you will not stop being the judge about the culprit. And starting this over and over again, you get a kind, or the person who is the victim gets a kind of power above the culprit. And that game is a game which has both involved. The victim needs the culprit needs the victim, because both need each other. Somebody who will do something to the other person, and the other who allows the culprit to do it to him. He's offering it towards him. You know, these friends or others who come to you, and they are talking about what happened to them. And you are so polite, you listen, you feel with them, and their story is going on, and they take you into their own, world, into another world, which is their own perception. They have never the intention to change their perception or following your advices. They just want to do one thing, and this is what you feel after they have left you. They suck out your positive feeling for you. They suck out the energy, your listening, your being polite to them, and they feel better with it. When they have left, you feel pretty much down, because they have loaded their problems onto you without any idea that they would change something about it. They come in the next 2 days back to tell you the next story, repeating the same thing, and they never will listen to your advice. These are typical energy suckers or energy vampires. If you have that person already 6 times, then it's the best that you have not time, with the seventh time, to repeat that again, because you will be the person who is afterwards depressed or down or feeling tired or whatever. This is the advice that I would be very careful with vampire or energy suckers.
So during the counseling, there is a group that asks for how to overcome shyness in the workplace when you have a group meeting and there are many people in the group and they are all very outspoken. How does a shy person come out and make himself or herself heard in the group? First of all, the shy person has a feeling of low self-worth or low self-esteem, and this has to be addressed. And second is, when you're in a group of people who are talking and talking, many of them they are talking from their head and there is no connection. So there is also the connection between the head and the heart. So the suggestion we have for these shy person is first to practice speaking in front of a mirror, validating, affirming comments. You speak in front of the mirror, you make a positive statement, and you take the positive statement and then you encourage yourself and continue giving positive statements. So first is to rehearse and practice in front of a mirror, affirming yourself and validating yourself. I am, I can, I am, I can, thank you for. Next suggestion for a shy person is to try practice their validation with inanimate objects. If you don't have a mirror, you can take a fruit or take some round sphere, give it some eyes, a nose, and start talking to it. The funny image I have is from Shakespeare. We have a character called Hamlet, who's in Macbeth. It is he's talking to a skull, and the skull is representing his father. So just to give you an idea, you can take an object and talk to that object and pretend that it is a person and give it an affirmation, a positive statement, and get the feedback for encouraging yourself to speak more and to come out more. The third suggestion we have for the shy people is to connect with a friend and to practice this affirmation and being heard, talking to someone, getting a positive experience with that person, but not getting a criticism. So you speak, your friend listens, and then your friend gives you a positive feedback and allows you to express yourself in your own natural way. So this is the third suggestion to improve your self-esteem, and to speak more openly and to speak your truth in a group environment.
We are a very good enthusiastic group and really moving into these exercises. Today I want to train you in two exercises which I learned from America. Can I give this short? So this is a workshop in America, and this is the first part of that workshop. It's a book called Resurfacing. This is the 32 exercises that you can do with yourself or with your friend or in a group. Self-development course, self-development exercises. It's called Resurfacing by Harry Palmer. And today what we'll do is I'll show you two exercises from this book which are really good training to help in your life, in your career, at home, with your family, in all aspects can really help you. So one exercise is called minding the edges, and it helps you to stay centered when other people are not centered or other people try to grab your attention. So in this first exercise, two people sit together, similar to just now. We break into pairs. And one person is the student and one person is the listener. So the one who is the student speaks and the other one listens. The one who is speaking is going to tell a story. They can tell any story they like. They can tell a story about something that happened to them or something about their boss, any story they can tell. The other person just listens and receives the person's communication, staying centered, but not ignoring the person. So while the speaker will try to grab the person's attention by dramatizing the story, the one who's receiving, for them it's like somebody is speaking a foreign language. They are listening, they are centered, they don't get distracted, they are always in the same place, but they are at the same, not getting pulled off their center. So that's the first exercise called minding your edges. The reason why it's called minding your edges is like we remind people, it's like watching a TV program. You can watch a TV program, a scary movie on the TV, and you might get scared by what you see. But if you mind the edges, which is the edge of the TV screen, then you can keep your attention on the edge and say, well, no, this is a program. It's a TV program. It's not a real. What I'm seeing is a program, and that way you don't get into the story. So that's why it's called minding your edges. Minding somebody who was precious to me, and Karin will be the listener, and she'll try to mind the edges of the story. So Karin, you know, the first time I fell in love, it was, my God, I cannot tell you how it was. I was with the person only like 3 months, but after 3 months, it took me 3 years to get over the person. And it was from 3 months to 3 years. I tried so hard to grab that person, come back into my life. I did so many things. I sent flowers, I sent messages, I tried to show the person how much I love that person, but it just didn't work. You know, just always, every time disappointment, every time sadness, every time rejection. Oh my God. I cannot imagine. And then when I was alone, I felt so much grief, so much pain. I was at the end of the world. I felt like nobody else could feel so much grief and so much pain. Okay, I stopped.
Okay, what I did was, I was just breathing, looking at him, listening in one ear in and one ear out, and I was holding myself on the floor, because he was going with his emotions under the ceiling, out of the body, trying to drag me down up. And so I was having my hand here on my tummy, just breathing, and not to walk with him into the clouds, into his love story. By the way, it was a beautiful love story. I didn't want to get dragged in, right? But to stay then centered, that because you cannot help him if you are running with him through all the drama. So I hold my hand on the tummy, breathe and listen, and try to sit on my sit and my foot on the floor. That was all what I did. And I have 2 ears, 1 ear in, 1 ear out, and I nod and say maybe, yes, could be.
It's to help you to keep an emotional control on an issue. Actually, when you do the workshop, there's like a personality profile. They ask you like 20 questions or more, and then they ask you later on which is the most sensitive area in your personality profile. So I'm thinking about one friend of mine whose mother did not treat her very well when she was young. So she felt if she did a profile, then she would say, well, in this age, you know, my mom did this, and that. You get emotional because of that treatment, the mistreatment or whatever. So I'm going to pick an issue like that, and then Karin is going to direct me between. She'll direct me between the issue. I keep on describing this issue, get more and more emotional into it, and then she stops me and says, "Okay, look at this bottle and describe the bottle," something like this. And then that she guides me out of the emotional region into the object, more and more into the description, until I totally lose the story, my own story, and I'm in the story of describing the object. And then, of course, we do it one time. Now about the world is not fair. So, you know, when I look around me in Dubai, I mean, I see some people, and I feel sorry for them because they're working so hard, and they just to earn a few hundred dirhams. They're working so hard that, you know, I know one person, he delivers tea. He gets for each cup of tea like 75 fills. But how hard he works. I mean, he's racing with a pack of tea, racing to offices, racing back, trying to get 100 deliveries through the day, 200 deliveries, trying to count those 75 fills again and again and again so that he can make his 500 dirhams per month. And I feel so sorry that he has to run so much and race through, and his life is like, it feels like a roller coaster ride, coming, running, and back and running, morning to evening, and some of them working like 6 days a week, no rest on Friday. Even on Friday, they're working 3 hours. And
Kamal, I understand what you talk about, really. I really can feel that with you. But I would like that you, for just a moment, look just behind you. There is a glow like a sun, or there are pictures. Just look at the sun, at the pictures, even if it's electric. What do you see, except that there is a yellow sun? Okay, turn around.
I see a yellow sun which is hanging from the ceiling, and it has a like a egg-shaped center, like a sunny side of the egg, and then it has around it like different vertices, like a flower, different petals around the sun, and the petals are not the same color as the sun. The petals are a little darker color, and the sun is a little brighter. And together, I mean, it looks sometimes like a sunflower. Sometimes it feels like it is like a source of energy, like it is the source of that. There is an energy that permeates to everyone and everything, and looking after.
That was extremely precise. Yes, extremely precise. I would even not know if I should do that. Okay, you were talking about the teamwork. Yeah. Do you want a little bit continue, or what do you feel?
You can stop it.
Yeah. Okay.